Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my podcast. So, today we're going to be discussing people who refuse to be accountable. But before we get into that, let us discuss the definition of accountability. Okay. So, I actually took it upon myself to go on Google. So, we have the definition here, and it says the fact or condition of being accountable responsibility, okay? And then when I scroll down to get even more definitions, it says the quality or state of being accountable, especially an obligation or willingness to accept responsibility. And the word willingness sticks out to me because in order for you to be accountable, you have to be willing to see how you were wrong. You have to be willing to see your toxic traits. You have to be willing to see the side of you that you don't like. And unfortunately, a lot of people refuse to look at that part of themselves that wrong the other person. A lot of people justify and rationalize their behavior instead of simply apologizing, because apologizing is having empathy for the other person. It's putting yourself in their shoes and understanding how your behavior affected them. But most people don't believe this, okay? And they don't believe this because they're operating out of their ego. They believe that they're always right and that they're never wrong. And people who operate out of their ego, they have this idea that being wrong means you're a bad person. Like they have the idea that being wrong means you're unworthy of love and success and the great things that life has to offer, when that's not true at all. But this is what these people believe when they're in their ego, okay? They think that being wrong is somehow permanent when it's not, because when you're accountable, you can recognize how you have offended somebody else, you can move on from it pretty smoothly. You know, it may not be the best depending on what you did, but you can move on from it and do better. It's not a permanent character flaw. Like people that refuse to be accountable, who are caught up in their ego, believe that doing something wrong is permanent and they can never redeem themselves. And that again is not correct. It's not true. It's false. And they run with this idea and avoid ever being wrong. And the problem with this is that when you don't want to be accountable, you mess up relationships of all sorts, whether it's a business relationship, a family relationship, a romantic relationship, and even a platonic relationship. Because being accountable is what creates healthy dynamics, because you're able to look at yourself and also hold the other person accountable if they want to be, you know, because accountability is a choice. It's a choice. And if you can make that choice, good for you. But unfortunately, some people cannot make this choice because they think that being wrong is a character flaw. But being wrong is a part of the human experience, because at some point in our lives, we're going to make a mistake. We're going to say something we shouldn't have said. We're going to do something we shouldn't have done. And it happens to the best of us. I may say things I shouldn't say. I may do things I shouldn't do. But when I'm accountable, I can grow and I can move on from it instead of punishing myself forever. I feel like people who refuse to be accountable think that it's something that's going to follow them forever, and it's not, because by you refusing to be accountable, you're refusing to grow. You're refusing to mature. Accountability is a part of being mature. And a lot of people think they're mature and think, you know how a lot of people say, I'm grown, but I've seen this post and it says people are grown, they have their shit together until it's time to communicate, until it's time to say, I'm sorry. Then they don't want to, because everybody thinks that they're right and they're not always right. We're not always right. I'm not always right. And when you can acknowledge that, you can grow, you can mature. But people that refuse to be accountable are immature. They don't never think they're wrong. And one thing that I've noticed about people who refuse to be accountable is that instead of them apologizing to you, it's like they rather create a smear campaign and get a group of people. And sometimes it's not even a group of people, but just one more person to believe them and play into their victim story and make you look like the bad person when you didn't even do anything wrong. That person just refuses to acknowledge what they did to you. Like these are the same types of people that will hold a grudge against you, all because they don't want to say sorry. You'll have people holding grudges against you and you didn't do anything to them. They did something to you, but because they're so in their ego, you're the problem. And they make a smear campaign. If you don't know what a smear campaign is, a smear campaign is a tactic that a narcissist uses, and it's basically gossiping about you and spreading rumors and lies about you. It's basically throwing dirt on your name, okay? And people who refuse to be accountable, they want to look like the victim. So even if you're not going around telling people the situation, they're going to beat you to it so that they can look like the good person. Because people that are in their ego, they're caught up with their reputation. Like they have to look like a good person, even if they aren't. But they want to put on this show that they're a good person. They actually want to show themselves that they're a good person. Like they're trying to convince themselves. And it's not that they're not a good person, but it's like in order for you to really be a good person, you have to be accountable. Somebody that is a good person is accountable because they can see how they affect other people. People that refuse to be accountable, they don't see how they reflect. They don't see how they affect other people and they don't reflect on what they do to people. Like I have been hurt by somebody in the past and this person legit told me that they don't believe in karma. Now, some of these people who refuse to be accountable actually have this mindset that karma is not real, karma doesn't exist, but it's very real because what you reap, you will sow. What you put out into the universe, you'll get back. It's like a boomerang. When you throw out some negativity, be prepared for it to come back because that's how the universe works. Newton's third law says every action has an opposite reaction. So when you refuse to be accountable, you can't expect people to want to be around you. And when you're dealing with people that don't want to be accountable, you don't have to be around them. Because, like I said, being accountable helps relationships remain healthy because the other person will feel like you understand them and that you hear them. That'll actually make your bond grow deeper because through accountability, you can learn about your other person and yourself. You can learn about your toxic traits. You can learn about the things you need to improve and heal and work on. But people who refuse to be accountable, they don't think they need to work on anything. Like, understand this about people who don't want to be accountable. They already think that they're the best version of themselves. They feel like who they are right now is who they'll always be. And unfortunately, for some people, that's true. But they really think that they've reached a level in life where there is no more improvement, where there is no more growing, where there is no more learning. They got it all figured out, and that's not true. And a lot of these people get a reality check, and even then, they still refuse to be accountable. So when you deal with people like this, you have options. Number one, cut them off. Cut them off. This is your life. Never let anybody bring you to an early grave because they don't want to be accountable. You sitting here sending paragraphs trying to get them to understand. And I feel like, there's been times where like I actually have tried to talk it out with people. And I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you've done the same thing. You've tried to talk it out. You tried to listen to their side, but it's like it's never reciprocal. So that's why you have to cut these people off because you shouldn't be involved in a connection where you're always the one apologizing, where you're always the one taking responsibility for your actions and changing and doing better. But that person is still hurting you and remaining the same and not doing anything to change that. Cut them off. Two, if this is family and you have to be around them for whatever reason, you can distance yourself. You can set a boundary. You don't have to be involved with these types of people. You can show people how you want to be treated. And if they get mad at the distance, who cares? This is for you, it's for your mental health. Your mental health matters, and it's way more important than somebody's perception of you. Always remember that. Let people be mad. Let them be uncomfortable with your distance. Let them be uncomfortable with you cutting them off because you deserve better. And by you protecting yourself, you're showing that person that how you want to be treated. And if they don't want to treat you better, let them be. Let them be. Understand that you will meet good people in your life if you're open to it. But if you just constantly like you don't have boundaries, you want to be around people who don't want to be accountable because you keep trying to find ways to get them to be accountable, that's a waste of time. And I'm speaking from experience, okay? I used to be the type of person that really focused on healing and tried to get my past partners to understand that, try to get my friends to understand that, but it was only me who was working on myself. They weren't working on themselves. And I thought that by working on myself and being accountable, it would in turn make them be accountable and work on themselves. And again, that's also false because they have to be willing. Remember the definition we just read in the beginning? Willingness. They have to be willing to be accountable. Willingness. I had a willingness because I loved the people that was in my life at the time. I loved them and I willingly wanted to be accountable because I wanted the connection to be better. Sometimes people that aren't accountable don't have real love for you because somebody that loves you is going to care about how you feel. Let me run that back. Somebody that loves you, somebody that truly loves you and wants you in their life, they're going to care about how you feel. Okay. They're going to care about how you feel the same way you care about how they feel because you love and care for them. They're going to care about how you feel because they love and care for you. That's the real people. But when you're surrounded by fake people, AKA people who don't want to be accountable, they don't have real love for you because they're in their ego. These people are caught up with reputation and status and looking good, but not actually being good, you know? It's sad. But you have options when dealing with these people because it's your life. At the end of the day, them not being accountable, you can't let that affect you. At some point, you got to cut these people out of your life. At some point, you got to distance yourself because you're going to get tired of explaining your side. You're going to get tired of listening to their side and they never listening to your side. You don't have to be involved with people like this. You don't. But keep being accountable because you're going to eventually meet people like you. You're going to meet people that come into your life that can tell you that they were wrong. They can apologize and try to make it up to you, not people that start drama with you in arguments just because you're telling them how you felt and how they were wrong. You don't deserve that. Tell yourself right now, I don't deserve that. I want you to scream it to the rooftops. I'm just playing. But just tell yourself, I don't deserve that because you don't deserve to be treated like that. You don't deserve to be around people or someone who just constantly mistreats you and never apologizes for it, but wants you to apologize if you do something to them. No. Your relationships, no matter if it's familial, no matter if it's a romantic relationship, a platonic relationship, a business relationship, every relationship needs reciprocity. Every relationship needs reciprocity. And if that person can't be accountable, they don't need to be in your life. They have no business being in your life. Okay? They have no business. So when you're dealing with people like this, understand that they're operating out of ego. They're not operating from a heart space. They're operating out of an egotistical space to where they're always right. And some of these people learn, some of these people never learn, okay? But it really has nothing to do with you. Them not wanting to be accountable, it don't have nothing to do with you. So never blame yourself for why somebody can't tell you the truth because it's not about you. It has nothing to do with you. It's that person. They fear their shadow side. They don't like being wrong because again, they think being wrong means something that it doesn't mean. They're caught up in an illusion, okay? So let these people be and you do you and you take care of you, okay? All right. Peace.